We're looking at Bryce Young right now. You're talking about among 32 quarterbacks with at least 250 attempts. His record is 2-16, worse than the NFL. 59.3% completion percentage, dead last. 173.4 passing yards per game. 31 of 32 quarterbacks. That's where he ranks. The only person that was worse dating back to last season is Kenny Pickett. Last in yards per attempt. Last in touchdown percentage. Last in passer rating. This is what we're talking about. And he's completed just 38% of his passes in his career with 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions when under pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamarcus Russell wasn't even that bad. And you know how I felt about Jamarcus Russell. I mean, this is maybe the biggest bust in NFL history. These are the kind of things that are starting to be brought up.
Whoa, Stephen A. Smith, can you chill out a little bit? All jokes aside though, those were some strong comments made on Bryce Young. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Stephen A. Smith blasting Bryce Young for being a massive draft bust. With Bryce Young getting benched after 18 games, it has now made people wonder if Bryce Young is the biggest draft bust of all time. Bryce Young has also scored poorly in every statistical category since becoming an NFL starter. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. Is Bryce Young the biggest draft bust ever in NFL history? I'm not going to go that far and say that Bryce Young is the biggest draft bust in NFL history, but he is top 3 in my books. Only Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell are higher than Bryce Young on my list in terms of draft bust. You look at Bryce Young's win-loss record in 18 games. He's 2-16 as a starter. His completion percentage was trash. His passing yards was trash. His passing touchdowns were trash. His interceptions were trash. The amount of sacks Bryce Young took were also trash as well. And I understand that Bryce Young was playing in a horrible situation on the Carolina Panthers. But if you're a number 1 overall pick, you're supposed to rise up to those occasions. I'm not saying Bryce Young should have been playing on the level of CJ Stroud, but Bryce Young should be expected to put up more than 175 passing yards a game. Bryce Young was historically awful during his time on the Carolina Panthers, and I blame David Tepper for a lot of this. David Tepper is the reason why the Carolina Panthers are in the current position that they are in. The man has ruined football in the Carolinas. He has ruined the culture of keep pounding. We used to repeat keep pounding all the time in the Carolinas because it embodied a culture in the Carolinas. It embodied effort. It embodied trying hard. It embodied being tough all the time. Bryce Young does not exemplify what a keep pounding player looks like. Instead, David Tepper has created a culture where keep pounding has turned into keep sucking. Bryce Young embodies the statement of keep sucking. The guy finds new ways to suck every single week, and he was draining the life out of the Carolinas. Bryce Young is a horrible quarterback at the NFL level, and I blame the development process of Bryce Young prior to getting to the NFL. This is what happens when you coddle quarterbacks at the collegiate level and at the high school level with RPO game all day long. That's what happens when you play a dumbed down system and you don't work on your footwork, you don't work on building the fundamentals in your game. Bryce Young was very fundamentally behind in his game. It was quite frankly embarrassing to watch. I would feel ashamed watching Bryce Young play if I was a Bryce Young fanboy. You can't be small, short, and slow in the NFL. If you're small, short, and slow in the NFL, you're not going to last at the quarterback position, plain and simple. All these people that are crying about Bryce Young getting benched, well, I want to show you guys this clip of Herm Edwards talking when it came to the purpose of playing football. Roll the film.
You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
Well said, Herm Edwards. That quote freaking inspired me big time. And you look at how people in the Carolinas do not embody that type of statement anymore because they believe entitlement is the best way to build a football team. Like what I've talked about with Sam Howell's dad in the past, entitlement is the disease to a football team. And Bryce Young has a lot of entitlement right now because he believes he should be out there playing on the football field just because he was drafted #1 overall. But when you've been playing trash for 18 NFL games, well, there's not really a whole lot of reasons to play you on the football field. In fact, most quarterbacks probably would not have even gotten a year or two to begin with if he was not drafted #1. Bryce Young was historically awful in every category, and he has no positive traits in his game whatsoever other than he tries hard on the football field. I also want to show you guys this clip of Peter Schrager talking about Bryce Young. He sounded like some guy that was paid under the table by the Bryce Young family. He compared Bryce Young to Steph Curry. Roll the film.
Bryce Young almost was a different species of quarterback. And we're talking about 185 pounds. Forget the height. 185 pounds as a quarterback. That is not Kyler Murray. That is not Baker Mayfield. That's not even Johnny Manziel. That is a slender. So to find the comp is so difficult. And it's funny, during this mock draft stuff that I've been doing, I talk to all the GMs and I speak to, guys in player personnel. And time again, the comparisons, it wasn't like, well, Doug Flutie did this, or wow, well, you've had guys like Baker Mayfield or Drew Brees. The first one that came up was a point guard out of Davidson who puts up 30 a game, and it's Steph Curry. That's the comparison you get. A Steph Curry comparison, not only because of the way he distributes the ball, because of the way he just glides through the game, and it feels like he has complete awareness, despite not being the tallest, despite not being the most physically imposing, has total control of his body.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Get exposed, Peter Schrager. That was one of the worst takes that you have ever made in your media career. Are you sure the Bryce Young family didn't pay you under the table to say that kind of stuff? Because that was a ridiculous take at the time, and it's an even worse take now, looking back at it. I also want to bring up this point about Frank Reich not wanting Bryce Young in the 2023 NFL Draft. I've had conversations about it with his brother. I talked about it with him yesterday. He was talking about how Bryce Young simply did not belong on an NFL field his rookie season. What the Carolina Panthers did by making him play day one was a travesty in and of itself. He also told me he saw Bryce Young practice once, and he said, man, that guy is tiny. How is he built to play in the NFL? And Frank Reich basically said, well, we're just going to have to work with what we got. Ask the guy upstairs about the quarterback position. It's not really up to him. It was not his decision to take Bryce Young with the #1 overall pick. And of course, when you have a dumb owner like David Tepper, that's the results you're going to get. When you watch Bryce Young play, you're thinking about a kid that rode in training wheels his entire life in the driveway. And then at age 21, they go ahead and tell him, go ride a bike in the street with no helmet. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Bryce Young is essentially going to crash over, and he's not going to do good whatsoever because he is severely underprepared. The benching of Bryce Young was the best thing that could have happened to Bryce Young if he approaches this the right way. I'm hearing that Bryce Young is pissed about the benching, but to be completely honest, you didn't earn it in terms of staying out there on the football field. Players and agents are threatening to request trades in the Carolinas if they don't bench Bryce Young. He's definitely a top 3 bust. I don't necessarily agree with Stephen A. Smith saying that Bryce Young is the biggest draft bust in NFL history, although he certainly is up there on the list. Only Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell are bigger draft busts than Bryce Young. But again, like I said, outside of those two guys, Bryce Young is the biggest draft bust in NFL history. It's that simple, and the sooner people accept that, the better off everybody else will be. So that is why Bryce Young is not the biggest draft bust ever, although you could certainly put Bryce Young in the top 3 on that list. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @DustNasTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustNasTran and at Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustNasTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video. Comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.